Real privilege for me to be with citizen soldiers and airmen who serve our state and our nation, and you do it with such distinction. It's really hard for me to kind of, or for that matter, anybody else to sum up what all the Texas National Guard does for Texas, simply because you do so much. You think about I was telling somebody, it kind of reminds me of that old song that kind of floppy-haired group from Liverpool sang back in the 60s called, Here, There, and Everywhere. As a matter of fact, my old squadron was called the Hallmark Squadron, the 130 outfit out of Dias, and I think it was called the Hallmark Squadron. So when you care the best, when you care enough, send the very best. I think that was what the slogan was, but it was anywhere, anytime. And that truly could be the same for our great men and women who serve the Texas National Guard, Air Guard, any given day. You think about what you may be doing, whether it's filling sandbags prior to a big hurricane coming ashore somewhere, whether it's mounting patrols in a combat zone overseas, whether it's picking up and transporting patients from a neighboring state to get them out of the way from a catastrophic event, doing countless drills and exercises that are required to maintain the readiness. That's where we find it. Of course, I wish we had another 1,000 Guard troops along the Texas-Mexico border doing security work with us. I'd like to have some more. Washington hadn't responded to my request yet. When you think about that kind of violence, that's close to home. The fact of the matter is, I'm going to keep asking, I'm going to keep cajoling, I'm going to keep probing, and until we're allowed to deploy such a powerful resource. And these drug wars are going to continue, and they're going to continue to claim lives of Mexicans on the Mexican side of the border. And our great concern is that spillover violence that we know is coming, and it's probably occurred in places along that border. The State Department is aware of that. When you think about that, they're advising travelers to avoid Mexican border cities like Ciudad Juarez, which is a more dangerous place than Iraq. There have been over 4,700 people killed, murdered in Juarez since January of 2008. The federal government has fallen short of its obligation to secure the international border. And since the savage killings of 3 people connected to the U.S. consulate in Mexico, the administration, I will say, have been sending some stronger signals, but they're yet to take meaningful action. America needs swift action and sufficient resources to protect our border communities and the families who call that part of our state home. We need action. We need resources to protect the legal commerce and travel that's connected Texas and Mexico throughout our history. That's why I've repeatedly asked for federal personnel. We've asked for unmanned surveillance aircraft, a new fusion center in Texas. That's why Texas leaders and taxpayers, and you and your members of the legislature, you stopped waiting and you took action, and I thank you for that. They stepped in the gap that's been left by Washington. In recent years, the state of Texas has appropriated hundreds of millions of dollars for enhanced border security. They've been putting boots on the ground. They've putting the assets in place, equipping our law enforcement personnel on that border. Last week, that violence continued to escalate, and I took it up a notch in this state by our response with the first phase of our spillover violence contingency plan. Keeping Texans safe is nothing new, certainly nothing new for y'all. You all do it on a regular basis, and I just wanted to come today and be a part of saying thank you and how much we appreciate your involvement in that very essential area. There was a time, General Mayor, back when I was serving active duty in the early 70s and through that period of time, There was a term that we would hear from time to time. As a matter of fact, I got asked to serve as the commander of a guard unit in Stanford, Texas, in the mid to late 70s. The term that we heard was weekend warrior. Let me know, it ain't real today. Nobody calls you a weekend warrior. It's pretty much a full-time gig. Military service isn't something that you can just switch on and off, for that matter. There's something that motivates you. There's something that is a devotion to a higher calling that you have, a willingness to put the needs of others in front of your needs. That selflessness is embodied here today. It's embodied here by some very special guests. Just 5 months ago, Major Flo, Fella Agnew, Sergeant Todd Flyber, they were in Afghanistan. As a matter of fact, we had the opportunity to see each other over there in August, July. They were in there with the 143rd Infantry Detachment. It was part of our agribusiness development team that's in the Ghazni area. And as they transited a roadway, a roadside bomb destroyed their Humvee, injuring them badly, taking the lives of 2 of our fellow guardsmen. And joining both of those individuals today are their wives. Thank you for being here, but also the wives of those 2 fallen comrades. Lindsay Green, wife of Sergeant Gabe Green. Lindsay, thank you, ma'am. God bless you. We love you. Montaigne, thank you. Thank you for being here. We love you too. The wife of I want you to know, as I've already shared with you, but I want you to know in this public setting, how much we genuinely love you, love your husbands, the service that they were giving to us, and the sacrifices that you made on that fateful day in October of 2009. And we remain committed to supporting you and your families. And we are your extended family, and we will always be that way. Chris and Gabe gave their lives in the process of freeing people from the bonds of tyranny. They were genuinely making a difference in those people's lives in Afghanistan. They represent the best that our state has to offer. That timeless tradition of service and sacrifice. Their comrades from the agribusiness development team, they're still in Afghanistan. They're still making a difference. Yes, they are shaken by their loss, but they're still laser focused on their mission. I want us to also keep in mind and remember the folks that are serving with 136th Police headquarters over there. The 72nd Infantry Brigade Combat Team, 36th Sustainment Brigade that are serving in Iraq. You know, as a former 130 pilot, I would be very remiss if I didn't mention the brave men and women of our Air National Guard. Those of the 149th Fighter Wing who are training all of the, well, I call them, they're training the next to the best and the brightest after they got through flying the TAC airlift, the fighter wing. And, but they're continuing to train the finest young men and women in this country for deployment. All of those folks have left behind their families. They've left behind friends, in cases, businesses that carry the fight for freedom. Places where freedom is not an everyday experience. It is a powerful theme that we are involved with. And we do it for a simple reason. Because this country has called us to serve. Our country has asked us to step into the gap. That is what the folks of the Guard do. They answer the call with unparalleled professionalism, enthusiasm, aggressiveness. It's been an honor to see so many of our young men and women as I traveled into that theater over the course of the last 4 years. I tell my friends who traveled with me over there, you know, whether they were from Missouri or Montana, Idaho, and I said, no offense, but when we travel across this theater, you're not going to see many of your flags, but you're going to see a hell of a lot of Texas flags.